Hello and welcome to WP Click's YouTube channel. In this video, we'll show you how to set a custom WooCommerce Add to Cart link in WordPress. Basically, the Add to Cart link is a feature of the WooCommerce plugin that allows your visitors to buy products easily, which contributes to having a smooth shopping experience. Depending on your WordPress theme, you might already have shop and product page templates that include an Add to Cart link. But if you don't have that, or if you simply want to be able to put an Add to Cart link wherever you like, then stick around and I'll show you how to do that. Right now we're looking at an example shop page. By default, it has an Add to Cart link in the form of a button below a listed product, such as this. The same button or link can also be found when I open the page. You can see it here. Essentially, when you're covering your bases, customers can buy directly from the shop page, or if they want to learn more about a product or adjust its quantity, they can shop from the individual products page. The goal, of course, is to make it easier for them to buy from you. That's why I have an Add to Cart button for my products in the You May Also Like section, as well as my Related Product section. So all of these Add to Cart buttons that we see here were created by default, thanks to the WordPress theme I'm using. And this is a feature you're going to get with any theme focused on e-commerce. But what happens if you want to have an Add to Cart link somewhere not anticipated by your theme? Say you want a regular page with just one section dedicated to your product or products. Something like this here. This is my example section where I wanted to have a description, an Add to Cart link, and generally just a pared down e-commerce section where the focus can be on a few selected products. But you can also create something like this here, a section focusing on just one product. I'll talk more about this example during the course of the video as well. These are all examples to give you an idea of what you can do. Now, as for the Add to Cart link itself, I'm going to show you two different ways you can use to add it to your pages or posts. So, for the first method, open your dashboard and go to Pages. Then, from your list of pages, find the one that you want to add the link to. Next, I'm going to click on this Edit with Elementor link, as that's the page builder I'll be using. But before I do that, I want to mention that you can use this first method with any page builder. You don't have to stick with Elementor. We'll be creating a link, which you can do in whichever page builder you're most comfortable with. The second method will involve using a plugin, an Elementor add-on to be more precise, but more on that later. For now, let's open the page. And this is my page. It's mostly done already, and now I'm adding the finishing touches, such as the Add to Cart link. And here's the example section I showed you on the front end. As you can see, I'm missing an Add to Cart button here, and I want it here as it will let visitors easily buy this dress shown on the right. So, what do I need to do? Since I'm using Elementor, I'll search the Elements menu on the right for a button. Any plain button will do. So whatever you find in your page builders will be fine. Once you add it to your page, you can customize it and adjust its style if your theme doesn't do it for you. For mine, I'll change the text so it says Add to Cart. There we go. Now it's clear to everyone what this button is meant to do. So my next step is adding the link. This link will enable anyone to click on the button here and have this dress added to their cart so they can buy it. To form this link, I'm going to need to know the product ID of that black dress. To find out what it is, I'm going to open my dashboard again, and I'll do that in a new tab. There. Okay, now I need to find the product page with the dress. Here it is. And as I hover, you can see that under the product there's light gray text showing the ID. That's this, 1103. And you can also find the ID within the URL of the product page when you look at it. So now I have the number I need, and the URL I'm going to put it in, well, you can find a template for it in the article covering this topic within the section covering Add to Cart links for single products. Scroll down a bit. This is what we need. I'll just copy it to the notepad so I can modify it as I explain. The first part of the link is for your domain. So that's where you'd put your site's URL. In my case, that's this here, wpclicktest.com. And I'll copy this so I can replace it in the template URL. Just a sec. paste. There we go. Now, the second part of the link is where we need to add the product ID. Specifically, I need to replace the X with my product ID number. As we saw, that's 1103, so I'll type that in here. And that's it. My add to cart link is ready. I'll copy it now and paste it in my button's link field. Then I can update the page. And now we can check out how it looks on the front. Refresh the page. And now this button here will have a link that will let anyone add the black dress product to their cart. When I click on the button, it puts me on my site's homepage. But at the same time, if I take a look at my cart, I'll find the black dress I just added inside it. So it's just a straight way to the checkout from here. And all this is great, but what if you don't want your visitors to go to the homepage once they click on the Add to Cart button? There are several ways you can change that. For example, you can adjust your link so that clicking on it will add the product and take the customers to the cart page at the same time. You can find a template for that version of the link in our article. It's this one here. So the only difference is that it has this cart part. The rest of the link with the site's URL and the product ID is something I already have. So I just want to add this new part to my link. And paste. There. So my domain is here, my cart and my product ID. And I'll copy this URL so I can update my button's link field. Here we are, and update. Then we can see how this looks from the front end. I'll reopen the page with my example section, and while it loads, I'll remove the black dress from my cart, so I can start fresh with the updated button. Okay, now let me find the section with my Add to Cart button. Here it is, and when I click on it, I'm immediately taken to my cart and I can see everything that's in it, namely the dress I just added is here. There's just one, but I can easily change the quantity from here. Alternatively, I can easily proceed to the checkout from this page. But if you don't want your customers to be sent to the cart page when they add something to their carts, then you can set a URL with a redirect as the link. You can see how that would look in here. The article has a template you can use. So with this, you can send your visitors to a thank you for shopping with us page, or you might also like this product page, or anything that would work for you. With this URL template, some things remain the same while others are different. So you need your domain, and then you need the URL of the page where visitors will be redirected, and finally you need the part with Add to Cart showing the relevant product ID. You can see how that will work using this example here. So this URL will let you send visitors straight to checkout after they add the product to cart. But consider if this will work for your site or if you'd prefer to send people to a shop page so they'd buy more. And speaking of the shop page, this is something you can always redirect customers to, so it might be a good idea to set all your Add to Cart links with a redirect to a page like that. There is also a way to set Add to Cart links that will lead to the cart page, and to do so for all products at the same time. I'll be showing you how to do that a bit later in the video. But before we get into that, I want to show you another useful modification you can make to your Add to Cart link. And that's how to set the quantity of the product for purchase. You can see how that URL will look like here. And in practice, that's useful for, let me find the section I prepared, here. So in this section that's here as an example, we have a heading saying that if someone purchases 2 dresses, they'll get a necklace for free. And this section has a Buy Now button at the bottom. This button can be set with a link that will automatically add 2 dresses to the cart. So your visitors won't have to go back and click to add the same product to the cart several times. Instead, you'd have this button that will take care of everything at once. So, to create the appropriate link for the button, we need, wrong tab, we need this template. But if we take a closer look at it, we can notice that some elements of it repeat what we've already got. So the domain and the product ID parts are the same. And the only thing that differs is this end bit, the quantity. So instead of copying the whole thing, I'll just copy the part I don't have, which is this. And then I'll paste it to my working link. There. I'm going to leave the cart bit here, so the link will still lead to the cart page once the product's been added. But I will modify this new part and set 2 as my product quantity. So that's my URL ready to go. I'll just copy it now so I can go back to where I'm editing the page and click to edit the button. Then I'll set my new URL here in the link field and update so the change takes effect. And then I can check my page. But before I test the button with its new link, I want to check on my cart, and yes, I have the dress from earlier still here. I'll remove it to avoid any confusion. There. Now we'll easily see when something changes in the cart content. So I'll find the section I was working on, and I'll refresh the page so it catches up with my update in the backend. Now when I click on this button, I have a new product in my cart, and it's actually 2 instances of the black dress. So the quantity I set in the URL has been applied automatically, as we can see here. Now I know the link worked as I wanted it to, and I want to show you another neat way to use it. Let me just remove this so we start with a clean cart, and I'll go back to the back end of the page I'm working on. Now I use the link for this button, but I can just as easily use it with another part of my page, like this text here. Let me show you. I'll copy the link URL and then click on the text where I want to add the link. And you can link the whole text or select only a part of it. I'll use the first 2 words. Then just click on the link icon here, paste the URL and confirm entry. Alright, there we go. I'll update the page as well. And now we can check on the page front end. Let me refresh first. And now I just need to find the section I'm working on. Here we are. And if I click on this text, let's see. Here it is. My cart has the black dress product times 2. So these are the ways you can make an add to cart link for a single product, as well as adjust the target page and quantity of products added to cart. Now let's see what you need to do if you want to create an add to cart link for grouped products. Let me show you the section I created as an example. Here it is. This is my product combination, a dress and a purse. You can combine whatever you like, this is just to give you an idea. Then you can share a bit more about the products or simply invite customers to buy them. The first step to that is adding them to cart. So, how do you create a URL that will add a group product to someone's cart? Easy, let me show you. I'll start by finding the link template in the article. So we're looking for the section that covers group products. And here it is. So once you scroll down a bit, you'll see a link template. And I'll copy it so I can work on it in my notepad file. I'll erase the one I used before and paste. There. Although this is a new URL, some parts of it should be familiar. The your domain part. I'll copy my domain right away. Just a sec. And paste. The next part should also be familiar. This is where we'd replace the X with a product ID. And the principle here remains the same. I need to find my product page and see its ID number. You can also open the page to check you have the right one, or that all the products in the group are here. For my purse and dress combo, we can see that both the dress and the purse are here under the group product umbrella. So once I've determined that, I can go back to the products list and copy this ID number to my template URL. Just a sec. 1692. Okay. After this, we have the quantities for each of the products in the group. So you can set the link to add 2 purses and a dress to the cart, or 2 dresses and a purse, or whatever product you have in mind. So for this bit, I first need to define which product from the group is the one I'm setting the quantity for. To do that, I need to replace this Y with the ID number of the individual product in question. So in my case, that's the dress with 1422 as its ID. Just a sec. There. And the remaining product from the group, the purse, has 1690 as its product ID. I'll just add it here in place of the Z. There we go. And at this point you can set if you want the link to add more than 1 purse and 1 dress or not. I'll stick with 1 of each. So from this group product, customers will add 1 dress and 1 purse to their carts after clicking the link. Alright. Given I've made all the changes I wanted, I can now use this link on my page. To do that, I'll copy it and go back to where I'm editing the page. And this is the section where I want to add the group product link. I'll select the button to open the options and paste my URL in the link field. Okay, and I'll update the page. Now let's see how it looks from the front end. Refresh the page. And when I click on this button, well, for starters, we can see I forgot to adjust the page where people will be redirected. So I'll just open the cart from here. And here we are. The black dress I added earlier when I was showing you how to adjust the product quantity is still here. But below that we have a white dress, quantity 1, and the purse, also quantity 1. The two products from the group product listing. So my link added the right products in the right quantities to cart. One more thing for this link. If you want to change which page people will be sent to instead of the home page, you can scroll down a bit in the article and see the URL templates for that. So you can set the cart page, the checkout page, any page you like. You just need to set its URL here. Alright, now we've seen how to create add to cart links for single and for group products. The same principle applies to variable products. So these products have an ID for each variation. And if you want to create a link to add a variable product to cart, the template is very straightforward. Then you just need to use the ID number for the variation you want. And you can find the number on the products page in the product data section. From there, the steps are the same as for single products. If you'd like to see them described in more detail, you can find all the steps outlined in our article. Okay, that's it for this first part of the video. In the second part, I want to show you an easy way to create an add to cart button using a plugin. This bit is for those of you using Elementor. The plugin in question is Key Add-ons for Elementor, and it's a collection of 60 free widgets, including an add to cart button widget. So if you haven't used this plugin yet, you can try it out without breaking the bank. With this plugin, I have a very easy way to create an add to cart button without messing around with any URL making. Moreover, I'm going to have a way easier time styling my button if I use this plugin. However, you should know that this button is designed to add single products only. If you try to add a grouped or variable product, clicking on it will simply take you to that product's page. Okay, let's take a look at how to use this plugin's add to cart button widget. Here in my example section, we have the button I used so far. But now I'm going to add a second button underneath it using the widget I mentioned. Since I already have the Key Add-ons plugin installed and activated, all I need to do now is search for the add to cart button widget. And here it is. I'll just drag it to my page. Okay, there. Now we can see I have a whole bunch of options here on the left, and that I have a separate tab with stylization settings, while on the page my button looks like an input field until I add the product ID it's asking for. So that's the first thing I'll do. I'll be using the black dress product again, so let me check its ID. 1103, okay, and 1103. And you can see that as soon as I've entered the ID, my button started to look a lot more button-like. So I didn't have to make a button and then make a link for it separately. I simply added the right widget and the right ID and voila. Let me update the page to save this change. Now let's see how the new button looks from the page front end. But first, actually, I need to empty my cart and refresh the page I'm checking. And the cart, I want to clean out the old product so we can easily see when I add something new to it. And back to the page. My button is here, and when I click on it, it adds the product to the cart, but it doesn't take me anywhere. I can stay on the same page and keep shopping, but I can easily click on View Cart to see what's in it. And there's my dress, quantity 1. Now we know the button works, and I want to show you what happens if you try to add a grouped product instead of a single. To do that, I'll just duplicate the existing button and then replace the ID. I have that dress and purse combo as a group product, and I'll use it again. Its ID is 1692. Okay, 1692. There. And when we look at the button now, we can see it says View Products. Let me just update before we see how this acts on the page front end. Refresh. So here's my first widget made button, and it's for a single product. As I mentioned, it's an add to cart button designed to be used with single products. but if you add a variable or group product as I did here, then the button becomes View Products, and clicking on it will take customers to the product page, where they can then select the quantities and variables they want before adding the product to the cart. Okay, that was just straightforward adding the button and setting a product so it can be done in like 2 seconds flat. But this is when the fun starts. You get to explore all the ways of customizing your button. I'll remove this one, we won't need it. Okay, now when you use the Add to Cart button widget from the key add-ons for Elementor, you're going to get all kinds of easy to use and helpful options. To give you an idea of what those are, I'd like us to go through them now. So this first section in the options is where we add the product ID, and it's within the Content tab. So these are material rather than stylistic changes. After this top section, General, the next one is Button. And in here we have the layout. The button can be filled, which is what we see on the page, or it can be outlined, or you can make it textual. I'm going to stick with filled. Alongside that, we can change the button type. There is standard, which is set by default, but you can also change that too, for example, with inner border. There's also an option that will let you add an underline for the button text, and there's even a little animation effect on it. It's a neat detail if you decide to use it. I'll leave mine enabled. Following that, you can change the button size. You can explore the options here. I'll use small, but you should pick according to your requirements and plan design. After that, there's a button icon section. We can use it to add an icon to the button. I'll pick one from the icon library. Yes, the plugin gives you access to an extensive icon library, and you can just as easily use a custom SVG if you prefer it over the icons. The icon I'll set is, let's see, something with an arrow. This one, for example. Insert. There it is. You can see that my new icon also has an animation effect. It's applied by default, so you don't have to worry about setting it yourself. But for now, we can change the icon position from right to left, like this. Okay, these were all options that serve to make some basic button settings. Now, if you want to style your button, you'll find options for that under the Style tab. When we open it, we can see there are several sections here. Button style, button icon style, button inner border style, if you set that particular button type, and finally we have the button underline style. So there are all kinds of options here, and you should try them out to see what kind of combinations you can make and what works for you. But let's get back to our overview. Under button style, we have some typography options. These apply to the button text. While the text will generally take on the look and style defined by your theme, you can still change it to make it stand out. So you can change the font you're using. For example, I can set this one. You can change the font size by dragging the slider, so it's quite easy to see how it changes. And you have all these other typography options such as weight and style and letter spacing. For my button, I'll just change the line height a bit. And actually, I'll go back to using the default font so the button matches the surrounding text. And I'll specify the font size in pixels by setting 16. Okay, then we can change the button text color. I'll set white. There. And then I'll adjust the background color as the text becomes visible. You can pick a color from here, or, and this is a really handy tool, you can use a color sampler and select the color that you've set somewhere else on the page. So you need an element to sample from, such as this button. The sampler can't detect colors from an image, and if I click on an image, nothing will happen. But if I click on an element where I have a color set, then the sampler can tell me which color is being used and I can apply it to my element in progress with a single click. There, easy peasy. Then we have a border color option. Even if you didn't pick a button layout that includes a border, you can still set one here. You can choose its color, but before that you'll need to set a border width here. I'll just put, for example, 2 pixels. Then when I select the color, we'll be able to see it. So that's one idea if it works with your site design. And with the border radius option, you can set a radius whether you have a border or not. I can just increase the values here and it will smooth out the corners of my button. I'm going to make mine oval. There. Next to that, we can set how much padding there will be around the button text. And you can see I'm increasing the values evenly, but the button seems imbalanced. That's because the padding takes into account the icon as well as the text. So, to make this more symmetrical, you can click here. This will delink the field so you can enter a value in one without it being reflected onto the others. So I'll set 13 pixels at the bottom. I'm doing this with my arrow keys. And I'll set 16 pixels on the left as well as 23 on the right. It looks much nicer now. And maybe I should reduce the radius after all. There. But now that I've done that, I see I need a slight adjustment to my left padding. Okay. Give me a sec while I go back and forth a bit until I'm happy with the button look. And this is in large part what I urge you to do too. Try things out, see how you like them. Okay. Now, the interesting thing with these settings is that we made them for the button's normal display, but there are changes we can make that would only show when you hover over a button. So you can set a different text color if you like. I'll set, for example, black, or a very dark gray. And while I'm at it, I'll change the background hover color. Rather than pick something new, I'll sample the existing color and then go for something a touch lighter. Say this. Okay, now when I hover, you can see the different settings taking effect. Things like this make it easier for visitors to keep track of where they are on the page and what they're doing. So this was button style. Let's take a look now at the button icon style options. Here you can adjust the icon size. As a tip, try to keep it proportional to the text size. Then there's the option to change the icon color. I'll leave it white to match the text. And the icon margin option can help you in a way to adjust the positioning. I'll make slight changes to mine to align it with the text. Let me see. Yes, this is nice. But maybe I should make it a bit smaller and just there. And that's it. Then in the hover settings, there's the move icon option. This lets you pick the animation effect the icon will display on hover. So there are different settings you can try. So that's diagonal. There's also, say, vertical. And that looks like this. Okay, that's that. Let's check out the button inner border style. And there are no settings here. That's because I have to enable the right button type if I want to use them. To do that, I need to go to the Content tab, open the button settings, and set my button type to be with inner border. Okay, we can see the buttons different now. And when we go back to the button inner border style settings, we get several options for styling this button type. So thanks to them, you can easily set the border color or adjust the offset for the inner border. But before that, I'll reduce the inner border width. A thinner border will help me avoid overlap with the button text when I start changing the offset. And see how it moves? Like this, you can put the border closer to the text or further away from it. Okay, I'll switch back to my original button type. I just activated this one to show you how to access the options and what those options are. So I'll go back to using standard and we can take a look at the last section with settings, the button underline style. So that's for this line under the button text here. And there are several ways to style it. You can change its color here and adjust the width here. This isn't the same as line thickness. See how it elongates? That's me adjusting its width. So using this option you can adjust how far the underline will stretch. I'll remove the value I set and this will restore the default value and make the line match the text width. Then with the offset you can adjust the vertical position of the line relative to the text. You can also make the line thicker with this option, like, this is okay. And the last option is for adjusting the line's horizontal alignment if you made it narrower using the underline width option. Since my line is as wide as my text, this won't have any noticeable effect on my button. But I can change that by going back to the underline width and setting something shorter, like this. And then when I switch the alignment, we can see that the line moved to be centered against the text. Okay. Before we move on, there are also some hover settings which include the width of the underline on hover. I'll put something wider to show you. Now when I hover, you can see the line stretch out. I'll widen it so it's more noticeable. And there. I skipped the option above this, the underline hover color, but you have it if you want to make a change. But since the line has automatically taken on the color of the button text, I don't want to change anything. And with that, my button is done. Since I'm quite happy with it, I can remove this one. That's the button I had to add a link to separately. Just a moment. Delete. And I can update the page. Now let's refresh the page to see how it looks with the new button from the Add to Cart button widget. Here we are. All the settings I made are here, and you can see the difference when I hover. Finally, clicking on the link will add the black dress to the cart. And if you need to verify that it worked, you can click to view the cart. And now I have 2 black dresses in my cart because I had one left there before adding this one now. Of course, the product quantity can still be easily changed here. Okay, before we wrap up this video, I want to show you how to make it so that every Add to Cart link on your site takes customers to the cart page. And I don't mean setting each one individually. There is a shortcut. And to reach it, you need to go to WooCommerce and open the settings. Here we need the Products tab. And when you open it, there's going to be this section on cart behavior. Then you just need to tick this option, redirect to the cart page after a successful addition. Then just save changes and you're done. It's super simple. And this was the tutorial covering how to set a custom WooCommerce Add to Cart link. As we've seen, there are 2 ways you can approach this. You can create a link and you have all those handy templates we provided in the article. Or you can use the Add to Cart button widget from Key Add-ons for Elementor. And then you'll have these very user-friendly buttons that will make shopping with you a very pleasant experience. And speaking of buttons, the Key Add-ons collection includes a separate button widget. So if you like the ease with which we customize this button, its animation effects and the stylization options it offers, then you can add a plain button widget and create buttons for sections like this, where you're offering multiple products, or sections where you're offering group products. So you can combine making an Add to Cart link for product types other than single with the ease of customization that a button widget provides. The widget I'm referring to is this, the button here. You can tell the Key Add-ons widgets apart from Elementor's by their red color. And that's all I wanted to share. We hope you found this tutorial helpful. Thank you for watching. For more information on this topic, check out the description and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.